was a rainy autumn evening when Ben first saw Sarah. He was returning home from a long day at work, his briefcase slung over his shoulder, a light drizzle sprinkling his hair. He stopped at his favorite coffee shop, the Sweet Brew, and as the door chimed when he entered, the rich scent of freshly brewed coffee enveloped him. She sat alone at a small round table, sketches sprawled across the surface before her. He noticed her focused demeanor, the way her brow furrowed, and a swift sketch flowed from her pencil. Her auburn hair cascaded over her shoulders, and something about her captivated him. After ordering his drink, he summoned the courage to approach. "Is this seat taken?" Ben asked, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. She looked up, surprise flickering in her sharp green eyes. "No, it's not. Please join me." There was warmth in her voice that drew him in. They struck up a conversation, discovering shared interests in art, literature, and a love for the rainy weather. As the hours melted away, they found themselves lost in each other's laughter and stories. By the time they parted, both felt an undeniable spark, a connection neither could ignore. Weeks passed and their relationship blossomed with an intensity that surprised them both. From quiet evenings spent painting and drawing together to spontaneous weekend trips to the lake, Ben felt happier than he had in years. Sarah had a charm that was infectious. Her laughter danced in the air, and she had an uncanny way of making even mundane moments feel special. But beneath the surface of their relationship, shadows began to creep in. Ben, a diligent but somewhat reclusive software engineer, had a treasure he had accumulated over the years, a collection of art pieces that held both sentimental and monetary value. He took pride in his collection, having poured not just money but time and love into curating it. One evening, as they settled in to watch a movie, he noticed Sarah scrolling through her phone with a distant expression. "Everything okay?" he asked, concerned by her sudden change in demeanor. "Yeah, just looking at some designer pieces online," she replied, but Ben could hear the hint of distraction in her voice. It wasn't long before Ben began to notice strange occurrences. First, a few small items from his collection went missing. An intricately carved wooden trinket, a limited edition print. He told himself it was nothing, maybe misplaced during the hustle of everyday life. But the uneasy knot in his stomach grew. One evening, after Sarah had left for a supposed art exhibition, Ben took a look around the house. It was a ritual he rarely engaged in, but he felt compelled to check on his collection. His heart pounded as he realized several items were unaccounted for. Panic set in as the implications dawned on him. Someone was taking advantage of his trust. With a heavy heart, he decided to confront Sarah. He waited late into the night, and when she finally returned, he sensed something was off. "Sarah, we need to talk," Ben said, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of tension. "About what?" she asked, feigning innocence, her eyes darting away from his. "About my collection. I know some pieces are missing." He stood firm, wanting to believe that she wouldn't betray him, but doubt gnawed at his resolve. Sarah's face twisted slightly, a flash of guilt or irritation crossing her features. "You're being paranoid. Maybe you just forgot where you put them." "Paranoid? I cherish those items. Sarah, I know exactly where they were," Ben replied, his anger simmering beneath the surface. "I trusted you." An awkward silence filled the room as Sarah shifted uncomfortably. Desperation clawed at Ben's insides, but he forced himself to remain composed. "Where were you really tonight?" he asked, his voice low, probing. "I told you I was at an art exhibition," she snapped, but Ben could see through her facade, the tension in her body betraying her. "Show me the pictures from tonight," he demanded, knowing full well that many exhibitions would involve sharing on social media. With a reluctant sigh, Sarah pulled out her phone. As she opened the camera roll, Ben leaned in, desperate to validate his suspicions. The absence of any recent photos from a gallery, the timestamps indicating she had spent that night elsewhere, it all struck like a tidal wave. "Sarah, are you stealing from me?" His voice trembled, a mix of hurt and fury evident. "What's it to you?" "Ben, you've got plenty." She spat, revealing a side he hadn't seen before, angry, defensive. The revelation hit him deeply. Not only had she been sneaking around, but she also felt entitled to his belongings. "That's not the point. You betrayed my trust. You took what wasn't yours." Heart racing, Ben was overwhelmed. In a fit of rage, he began gathering Sarah's belongings, the things she had left scattered throughout his home. He felt violated and betrayed, emotions swirling chaotically as he threw her belongings outside. "Ben, you can't do this," she shouted, panic rising in her voice as he heaved her bags onto the front porch. "I can and I will," he yelled back, his mind racing faster than his heart could catch up. "You think you can just kick me out because of a few missing items? You don't even know the whole story," she cried, desperation coating her words. "What story is there to tell? You lied to me." Ben snapped, every word laced with bitter disappointment. "I thought we shared something real, something worth building on. But you've shattered that trust." Sarah fell silent, her expression shifting from anger to a deep-seated sorrow. She looked at him, her eyes welling with tears. I never meant for this to happen. I was trying to impress you. I thought if I had some things to match your collection, you'd like me more." Ben's heart sank. The revelation didn't ease his pain, but it painted a portrait of insecurity he hadn't anticipated. "You thought stealing was the answer?" he replied, softer now, the fight ebbing from his voice. "It wasn't just stealing. I thought I could sell them, buy something beautiful, and be part of your world," she murmured, biting her lip to hold back the tears. The night air was thick with tension as they stood on the threshold of their shared world, now a battleground of mistrust. The vibrant autumn leaves crunched beneath their feet, echoing the fragility of their relationship. Ben could feel his heart breaking as he stared at Sarah, realizing that once the threads of trust are frayed, they're nearly impossible to weave back together. "I don't know if I can forgive you for this," he finally said, exhaustion seeping into his voice. "Trust is everything in a relationship, and you've broken that. I need time to think." Sarah nodded, her face pale, understanding the weight of her actions. With a heavy heart, she picked up her belongings, her eyes searching his for any hint of reconciliation, but all she saw was determination, a resolve to guard his heart as best he could. "I'm truly sorry. Ben, I never wanted it to end like this," she whispered, a sob escaping her lips. Ben turned away, stifling the guilt that surged within him. "I need you to leave. I can't deal with this right now." As she walked away, the distance between them grew palpable. He watched her silhouette fade into the darkness, feeling the echoes of laughter that once filled their home replaced with an unbearable silence. Days turned into weeks, and the vibrant world they had created together slowly dimmed into a distant memory. Ben spent evenings in solitude, wrapped in the comfort of his remaining possessions, trying to stave off memories of Sarah. Friends reached out, inviting him out, but he found no solace among laughter and noise. In the quiet corners of his heart, he replayed the moments of their romance, the time spent sketching side by side, the whispers shared under the stars. But each memory was intertwined with the heavy sense of betrayal, the emptiness of trust lost. Ben decided to seek solace in art, purchasing a blank canvas, pouring his emotions into raw strokes and bold colors. The creation became his therapy, a way to express the turmoil he felt inside. With paint on his hands, he created a piece that reflected his heart. The vibrant colors fought against deep shadows, chaotic yet beautiful. It was a representation of love gone awry, of trust broken, and the hope for healing amidst confusion. Weeks faded into months when Ben received an unexpected call. It was Sarah. Time had worn the edges of anger, and curiosity nudged at his heart. "Can we talk?" Her voice was soft, tinged with regret. "I don't know." "Sarah," he hesitated. Could he face the woman who had cast such a shadow over his life? "I've been reflecting on everything, and I understand what I did was wrong. I want to apologize, to try to make things right. Even if that means just being friends," she implored. After a long pause filled with silence stretched across their history, Ben replied, "I think it's best if we meet in a public place." They agreed to meet at the very coffee shop where it all began, the Sweet Brew. As he approached the table, Ben's heart raced. Sarah sat there, a little older, a little wiser, her eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and exhaustion. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, her voice trembling as she reached for his hand. Ben withdrew slightly, setting the tone of their conversation. "Sarah, it's going to take time for me to process everything. Trust isn't easy to rebuild." "I understand," she nodded, tears welling again. "All I can do is promise that I've changed. I'm working on myself, on understanding why I made those choices. I don't expect forgiveness right away, if ever, but I miss you." "Ben." The conversation meandered through apologies and reflections, each word a tentative step toward perhaps finding a way back, or at least closure. As they parted ways, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that healing would take time, both for him and for Sarah. For now, they would walk separate paths, but maybe one day they could cross again. Months later, Ben stood in front of his latest painting, a vivid tapestry of colors blending and clashing. It told a story of heartache, but also of hope. He had learned that love, like art, was complex and messy. Trust, once shattered, could be rebuilt, but the scars would always linger. As for Sarah, she had begun a new chapter too, pursuing her art and seeking therapy for her insecurities. They remained distant friends through mutual acquaintances, sharing smiles from afar, but honoring the lessons learned. Life continued, both intertwining and diverging. Love, trust, and art taught them both that even through the shadows, vibrant colors could emerge, marking their journey forward with each brushstroke of life. Thus, the fragile threads of trust wove into a tapestry less perfect but rich with lessons learned and experiences embraced, reverberating with the fragile beauty of human connection.